Well, you timed this trip just about right. You caught me at a good time because being back home here in Columbus, Ohio, where I grew up, I lived here until I was 8 years old and then came back when I was 21. So ever since then I've been from Columbus, Ohio. 3 years off and on living in New Zealand and 2 albums in Canada and traveling all the time, but I've always been from Columbus, Ohio. So this, in my mind, no matter where I am, Columbus, Ohio, I'm still a Buckeye at heart and always been. I'm from the Ohio State University. But tomorrow we're going to pack up and head back to Laurel, Maryland. I never went back to Laurel. I graduated in 1962. Haven't seen any of my classmates since then, not one. There was only 88 in our graduating class, and this is our 50th reunion. In some ways, it'll be good to see some classmates that I haven't seen in 50 years. But part of this trip is going to be very hard for me because the year after I graduated, I went back out to, I was going out to Laurel with the brother of a girlfriend that I was dating who graduated with me. His name was Kippy Martin, who since now has died of brain cancer. But he wanted to pick up a neighbor boy, lived across the street, 16-year-old, named Bobby Tharp, that I had never met before. And Kippy wanted to take him with us. And I had spent all day washing and waxing my parents' 57 Oldsmobile. And we were pulling into the country club there in Laurel. My girlfriend was having, their class was having some dance or something there, and it was just before Halloween. And as we were pulling in, a carload of kids coming out threw a pumpkin out of the window right across the hood of my car and just smashed this pumpkin on the car that I just spent all day washing and waxing. And so they took off. I turned around and went chasing them, and we ended up, they turned out on old Bowie Laurel Road. We must have ended up doing over 100 miles an hour. And the car we were chasing started passing cars on the left with cars coming at them. And at that point there was a paved berm on the right, so I started passing. There was a couple of cars in front of us, so I started passing those cars on the right. Well, a couple of 100 yards up, pavement turned into gravel. And that car just started floating left and right. And witnesses said the car did 2 or 3 tumbles down this embankment. And I remember waking up in the car hearing a voice leaning in the window said, "I think this guy on the front seat's dead." That was me. And I was in shock. So I couldn't move, but I was not dead. But Kippy ended up being thrown out of the car, and he woke up leaning against a tree. And Bobby Tharp was found. He was sitting in the middle of the front seat, but they found him in the back seat with a broken back. And he was paralyzed from the waist down. A year later, I went out to watch Kippy's sister graduate, and I had forgotten that Bobby was in her class. And I was standing at the back of the hall with Kippy, and they were announcing names graduating. And they announced Bobby Tharp's name. And his classmates picked his wheelchair up and put it on the stage, and he got a standing ovation. I can't tell you the pain of being responsible for doing some stupid, split-second, unthoughtful thing that crippled another individual for life. And I have carried the pain of that sentence for 50 years. So it's going to be, to some degree, hard to go back and face not only the happiness of seeing old classmates, but the remembrance of one of the singly most painful events of my entire life. Never got over it. We've all changed a bit, haven't we?
You have too.
I know that I can make you laugh. I know that I can make you cry.
After I thank you, I want to the reunion.
You're like a tainted photograph. I can even make you lie. And these things that I do, they are so untrue.
I'm thankful that schedule and health allowed me to make it to my 50th high school reunion. The first thought that came to mind as I entered the auditorium was that most of my classmates looked pretty much just as old as I did, and that many of us have had the way we walk reduced from a youthful stride to a really good imitation of a bunch of waddling ducks. I never realized that I had actually started to walk like that until I watched this video.
As well as thanking all of you who come, I'd also like to, say a little something in memoriam for our classmates who have died and are not able to be here. They would certainly love to be here, and they would have a good time if they were here. Those classmates are Betty Brady, Jim Blumenshine, Terry Claggett, Bill Conrad, Johnny Evans, Chris Spike, Charles Gaunt, Francis Gibson, Elmira Hoke, William Ogburn, and Kippy Martin. These are all our classmates. We miss them. We wish that they could have been here, but unfortunately their time to leave has come way too soon.
I want to say a prayer for me. I need you to say a prayer for me. When I was growing up down in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I used to watch my sister go off dancing to Chuck Berry and Little Richard. And I want to thank her for giving me my basic roots in rock and roll. And here's a song called Miss Sally. All right. Well, she had a stack of records that she used to carry around. Miss Sally loved to dance and jitterbug. She was the best in town. She was a straight A honor student, attended Oak Ridge Senior High. And all the cats at the mall shop raved about her.
parents were the managers of the apartments that I lived in, and so I met Benny right off at 9th grade, and yep, we walked to school together and became good buddies. And anything that I would do, Benny would do, anything he would do, I would do with him. But I enjoyed Benny, so glad that he came here. When I heard he was coming, I was just thrilled. When I came back in '65, the apartments that Mom and Dad lived in on Bowie Road, that was the end of Laurel.
Yeah.
Or rather, when we left in '62, that was the end. I came back in '65, and those apartments were like in the middle of Laurel. I said, what happened out Bowie Road?
I tried to take my wife Eileen on a tour of our old Laurel High School building. I thought it'd be interesting for her to see some of my classrooms, like the library on the 2nd floor, where I used to bounce my legs up and down on the balls of my feet and make all the windows rattle, just to add a little comedy relief to our library experience. I'd try to put my head down before Mrs. Bowie caught me, but when I'd look up again, there she'd be, staring at me and just shaking her head. Although still standing, our old school has been changed into a boys and girls club, and most of the old classrooms are now offices with locked doors, cold locked doors that bar the way, locking us out from the visual images that belong to some wonderful stories, kept now forever only in our memories. I was sorry to find that my good friend Kippy Martin had passed away, and then my close friends Dave Brookman and Charlie Smith did not make it to this reunion. But it was wonderful to see my closest high school friend Lynn Salyers once again. My friendship with Lynn remains one of my favorite high school memories.
Benny and I were no trouble. Benny was a great kid, and his folks were great folks, and it was fun to do anything with him. And anything that he wanted to do was good with for me, and anything I wanted to do he was okay with too.
And at the end of the night, the entire event was upstaged by the appearance of Coach Yanchulis. And just like some who now come to one of my concerts and say to me, "I thought you were dead." That's exactly what came to mind when I saw Coach Y. I thought he was dead. Not hardly. Coach Y was the main attraction of the evening. It was a most enjoyable evening, and it was fun to sit and try to match the youthful faces in my yearbook to the older, yet warm and happy faces now greeting each other 50 years later. Some seemed to have not changed a bit, while others I could not recognize. But half a century later, they had all become wonderfully beautiful to me. And then it was time for the handshakes, hugs, and kisses. And I'm sure many, like myself, felt the chill of knowing that this would probably be the last time that we would all be together.
He just hates to say goodbye.